So what is vertigo? Vertigo is it's a fancy term for that spinning sensation you get after you turn around too much. And the difference between vertigo and lightheadedness is that lightheadedness is that sensation when you feel like you're going to faint. So if you've ever been lying down and you get up all of a sudden and you feel very faint, that's like orthostatic symptoms. Or maybe you're very weak, you didn't eat at all for breakfast and you've been standing there, you can feel very lightheaded. So that's the difference between vertigo, which is that spinning sensation, and lightheadedness. So vertigo is a symptom. It's not a diagnosis. I want to emphasize that. It is a symptom of either an inner ear or a central nervous system pathology. And that's because in your inner ear, it's your semicircular canals that are responsible for your sense of angular and linear motion. So if you have a problem in the semicircular canals, you can cause your brain to think that you're spinning. The other problem is your problem in the central nervous system, which interprets signals from the semicircular canal. So if you have a problem in the central nervous system, you may also get this sensation of spinning. So let's look at the central nervous system causes first of vertigo. And this can be due to either a lesion, so like something messed up in the brainstem or the cerebellum. For example, a stroke can mess up your brainstem or your cerebellum, and those areas are responsible for processing these motion signals. So what you're going to get vertigo because they're responsible for processing motion. You can have neurological deficits. So what I mean is any of those symptoms you can get from a stroke, you're going to have those. So you can have weakness, you can have numbness, you can have vision problems, etc. So the key is vertigo in conjunction with neurological deficits means your problem is in the central nervous system and not in the inner ear. Now if we look at the inner ear causes, so this is the inner ear. There are 3 of them. The first one is called, and inner ear causes is termed peripheral vertigo because central is the central nervous system. So the first one is called benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. Paroxysmal, again, is a word that comes up a lot and just means it comes up from time to time. You get those symptoms from time to time. And it's positional. And this is due to dislodged otoliths in the semicircular canals. So those otoliths are like little small particles in the semicircular canals. And this problem is triggered by head movement, so it's positional. Okay? And this is because when you move your head, you're going to make those otoliths change position. So you're going to stimulate the vestibular system, and you're going to get that sensation of spinning, that sensation of vertigo. The way you treat this is the Epley Maneuver. And what this is basically is you have to move the head in certain positions to get those otoliths back in the correct place where they need to be, where they're not just floating around and moving every time you move your head. Next one is called Meniere's disease. This is due to impaired absorption of the endolymphatic fluid. And that's found in the semicircular canals. So if you don't absorb it, it's going to accumulate. And when it accumulates in the labyrinths of the inner ear and the semicircular canals, you're going to get these symptoms. And the triad of symptoms is vertigo, hearing loss, and tinnitus. Tinnitus is a feeling of like a ringing in the ears. So it's when you see vertigo, hearing loss, and tinnitus, and that's indicative of Meniere's disease. And the treatment here is because you have basically accumulation of fluid in the inner ear. The treatment is to get rid of that fluid. So you give them, it's kind of like heart failure. You give them a low salt diet because salt makes you retain fluid, and you give them diuretics, which make you excrete fluid through the kidneys. So this is a fluid problem. Next, and our last one, is vestibular neuritis. So it's inflammation of that vestibular nerve, and it's usually due after a viral infection. And so you're going to get severe vertigo that lasts a few days, and it's going to be after a recent URI. And it's only going to last a few days because it's like inflammation, and that inflammation is finally going to resolve, and your symptoms will also resolve. And the key thing here is that there's no cochlear symptoms here. So there's no tinnitus, which is the ringing of the ears, and there's no hearing loss. So vestibular neuritis, inflammation, lasts a few days, goes away. Meniere's disease, due to accumulation of fluid, you get that triad of symptoms. You got to get rid of that fluid to treat it. And then finally, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, very positional. It's due to that dislodged otoliths that move when you trigger it by head movements. And you treat it by also moving the head in specific ways, called the Epley Maneuver. Finally, central nervous system causes, central causes of vertigo. always have will see neurological deficits, and that's how you can keep all these separate and identify which is which. So that's it for vertigo.